Our next guest has been commissioner of Major League Soccer since 1999 and joins us ahead of the 20th MLS Cup that airs this Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Please welcome Commissioner Don Garber to the desk. Thank you so much for joining us and making some time.
Folks. Yeah.
Before we get to soccer, quick thought. I first knew of you back in the late 80s when you were the director of marketing for the National Football League. Give us your insight into what was the biggest reason that the NFL rose so quickly and surpassed baseball as sort of America's most popular sport?
You know, I think television drove it. I mean, all of us in the industry know it was that destination programming. It was Monday nights. You know, your games were on Sunday afternoons, no matter where you were. And they were able to build these big brands. And a lot of that had to do with Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft and those quarterbacks that basically we formed into the quarterback club and marketing them as entities. All those things work together, the Super Bowl being that moment. And one thing we all don't realize, every big holiday takes place in the NFL season. You know, you have Christmas, you have Thanksgiving, you have back to school, and this concentrated family shared experience. And all of that drives people to kind of connect around the game.
You know, I want to get into soccer with you because you've expanded this league from 10 teams to 20 teams. You're talking about additional expansion. David Beckham and his group is trying to get a team in Miami. You're trying to facilitate that happening. Last I checked. And you also talked about how the demographics are in your favor. Talk to me about the growth of the league. How has it happened in your estimation? What's been the primary reason, and how do you think you can grow further? You know,
it goes back to the NFL. I was a guy there for many years, and I saw something kind of happening in this country where demographics were shifting, the Hispanic population was growing, kids were growing up playing soccer, and now creating the millennial generation, and all of them now became players, and now they're fans. And we wanted to be the league for this new America that was connected globally, that would be able to capitalize on all these changes. That's what's fueled the growth of soccer in America. It's what's fueled the growth of MLS. You see the Women's World Cup ratings. They rival, if not bigger than the other major league championships. You guys are all excited about the World Cup. ESPN's been very excited about Major League Soccer. And our best days are still ahead. Still only 20 years old. So I ask a lot, why hasn't soccer made it yet in America? Well, it has totally arrived. It's not the NFL. It's not 100 years old, but from 10 teams to 20, from 0 stadiums to 15, soon to be 20, great television contracts, lots of millennials following our sport, more so than any other sport. Those are things that are kind of driving what we call this new soccer nation in our country, and it's exciting to be a part of it.
So could you ever see a day when the most popular sport in the world, soccer, or as everyone calls it, football, could become #1 in America?
You know, I don't know that anybody can unseat the power of the NFL, but I do remember being a young marketing guy in the 80s with America's pastime and thinking the NFL would never be bigger than baseball. And I can remember a time in my parents' generation when boxing and the horse racing were the sports that really were captivating the hearts and minds of Americans. So forever is a long time, Skip, but I do believe we will be closer to being one of the most popular leagues in the country anytime soon. You know, we have the second largest number of millennials as a percentage of our fan base and Hispanics of any league. And after the NFL, those young people like professional soccer more than they like the other leagues. They're growing up. All those generations move up. They become consumers. They become politicians. They become CEOs of companies. They have kids. And as we all know, they're playing fewer of the other sports and more of this sport, and that's going to create the connection that I think fuels the growth of Major League Soccer.
Really interesting insight. Congrats on all your success. Thank you so much for making time.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We appreciate it.
Watch the game on your network.
Yes, don't miss the MLS Cup when the Portland Timbers take on the Columbus Crew this Sunday at 4 Eastern on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app. Commissioner, thank you so much for being with us.
Appreciate it.
When we come back, Big Ben expresses concern over his concussion issues. What do the guys make of it? Plus, Steeler Hall of Famer Jerome Bettis is here to offer his thoughts. That's next here on First Take.
Is brought to you by the Dish 2-year TV price lock. No hidden monthly fees like the other guys.
Don't miss Thursday's show. UFC President Dana White stops by. A lot to get into with him. Of course, all things MMA, and we have to ask him about Holly Holm's big upset win over Ronda Rousey. Don't miss First Take, 10 a.m. Eastern on Thursday. Breaking news this morning surrounding the Browns quarterback situation. Coach Mike Pettin announced that Austin Davis will start for the Browns against the Bengals this weekend, and Johnny Manziel will be the backup. Skip, are the Browns making the right move here at quarterback?
Depends on what Mike Patton's goal is right now. Stephen A. Smith, you have spoken to this a couple times on the show. If Mike Patton is all about just trying to save his job and win this home game against those Cincinnati Bengals, a defense that has tormented Johnny Manziel several times before, then he should go with Austin Davis. I like Austin Davis. Austin Davis is a little farther along as an NFL quarterback than Johnny Manziel is right here, right now. Watched him a lot last year. He had a very good game against my Cowboys early. Threw for 327. They had a 21-0 lead and blew it at home. He played very well against the Eagles the next week in Philly. Threw for seemed like 375. He beat Seattle at home last year. He beat the 49ers at the 49ers when they were still respectable and pretty good. So he's 3-5 as a starter. I liked his play the other night. I thought he played very well. My point is, if you want to find out what Johnny Manziel's all about, you punished him last week. Now you should throw him into the fire and see what he's got. If that's what you're doing, that's fine with me, because that's what I would do. But if Mike Pettin wants to win this game for Mike Pettin's sake and not for the Browns' future sake, then he should start Austin Davis.
I think it's the wrong decision by Mike Pettin because I don't think he has the right intentions. I think he recognizes that the season is over. At 2-9, you're going nowhere, okay? So playing Austin Davis and trying to win a meaningless game, which may be a meaningless game in the career of Mike Pettin, doesn't really make much sense. The sensible decision would be to go with Johnny Manziel, who I actually think has played better than any quarterback they've had this year, in my personal opinion, for the most part. I agree with Ryan Clark on that one, who said that this morning on Mike and Mike. What I would add, however, is this. It is clear to me, Mike Pettin has a healthy level of disdain for Johnny Manziel. He does not like this kid.
Didn't want to draft him.
Well, it's not just that he doesn't. It's one thing to not want to draft somebody. It's another thing to come across as if you genuinely does not like somebody.
Wouldn't you think, is it fair to say Johnny embarrassed him in the bye week?
Well, that's fair. That's fair, but I just look at the body of work from a communication perspective as it pertains to Mike Pettin and the things he has said about Johnny Manziel from day one. I think that he never wanted to draft him. I think Johnny Manziel came in and validated that. I think that he feels like Johnny was shoved down his throat because ownership wanted that.
No doubt.
And then for Johnny to come in there, not study as hard and be about partying and not focusing, I think that further sullied their relationship. Then he goes into rehab. I think Mike Pettin to some degree has held that against him. Then he comes out of rehab and then finds himself in a situation where he finally gumptions up the nerve to have some faith in Johnny Manziel, and then Johnny Manziel embarrassed him by lying to him. And so because of all of that, I just think that's why I say a healthy level, meaning that I don't have the disdain. We love Johnny, but I think Mike Pettin justifiably has disdain for Johnny Manziel. Okay. And I think that has infiltrated his decision-making process.
Which is why,
the problem is,
if I'm the owner of that team, I would have put my foot down and said, no, Mike, Johnny Manziel's going to play whether you like it or not.
That's right.
Because if I'm the owner, I would be pretty sure at this point that Mike Pettin won't be around next year. So I want to see if Johnny Manziel can show me he should be around next year or not.
That's right.
Now, me personally, I'm hoping Johnny is not around Cleveland next year.
And so am I.
Okay.
I think he needs to leave, but I think that, you know, Pettin, if I'm the owner, I would have put my foot down as well, because the season's over. Season's over. Now, it's the owner's fault, because you don't force your coach to draft somebody, okay? But since you did that as the owner, why not go all the way? And by the way, to me, I would have, if I'm the owner, and I don't mean this as a negative, here where I'm going. If I'm the owner, I would have fired Mike Pettin on the spot the minute he named Austin Davis the starter. And the reason why is simple. You know you're defying me because the season's over. And you know I want to see what this kid has. Why is he not in the lineup? Pettin would have been out of a job this morning.
Is it just me, or does it seem like every time Johnny could have a shot, it's against the Bengals? You know, like they're pretty good. Well, that's fair.
It's not easy to step in against the Bengals.
It ain't this time.
Huh?
You know, I mean,
well,
that's what it is.
Maybe that's what is Pettine trying to save Johnny from himself.
I'm just saying the point is,
no.
it's over. It's over in all likelihood for Pettine. We need to find out whether or not it's over for Johnny, and Pettine doesn't want to do that.
Okay, but do you see Austin Davis is pretty good. He's worth a look, but I'm a Johnny fan.
Yeah.
Johnny could be a franchise quarterback. Austin Davis will get you through. You know, he'll be decent. He'll be respectable.
I wish we still, I know Johnny maybe created his own problems, and number one, he needs to get healthy, but I still wish we got to see him down the stretch, even with this organization, so we could see if he is legit there as a starting quarterback. And I get you can't get a full gauge with that team, but now here we are in the same situation. So next year, now what happens? You don't really know what you have with Johnny.
You don't know what you have, and again, none of that matters if the owner has every intentions of finally letting Johnny go himself.
Yes.
But if you
That's what I'm trying to read into this.
Yep.
That's why I'm not, raising Cain about, like, I'm thinking, wait a second, maybe this means Johnny's gone onto the open market and he can land somewhere
Let him go
else.
to Cowboys.
Why not?
Let him go to Cowboys.
Let him.
More headlines.
Yeah.
More reasons
Love
for talk about Jerry Jones' pathetic Cowboys.
Well, he should have drafted him in the first place.
Really? Zach Martin.
I can't wait to buy you that jersey if that happens. See
Number
you guys
2 in blue.
tomorrow.